King Gentius emerged as the last monarch of the Illyrians during a time when his kingdom was facing immense external pressures and internal strife. Ascending to the throne in 181 BCE, Gentius inherited a kingdom that had been significantly weakened by both internal division and the increasing influence of the Roman Republic. His reign came at a pivotal moment in Illyrian history, as the Roman conquest of the Mediterranean was gaining momentum. Yet Gentius was determined to unite his people and restore Illyrian strength and pride. Under Gentius's rule, Illyria experienced a brief revival. Recognizing the importance of diplomacy and strategic alliances, Gentius sought to strengthen ties with neighboring tribes and establish relations with major powers in the region. His diplomatic approach led him to forge alliances with the Macedonian kingdom, leveraging their shared interests against the encroaching Roman influence. Gentius aimed to create a united front that would not only bolster Illyrian power but also challenge Roman dominance in the Balkans. Despite his ambitions, Gentius faced numerous challenges at home. His reign was marred by factional disputes among various Illyrian tribes, many of whom were unwilling to accept centralized authority. Gentius worked tirelessly to forge alliances, negotiating with tribal leaders and attempting to integrate their interests into his vision for a unified Illyria. He introduced reforms aimed at centralizing governance, promoting trade, and strengthening the military. However, resistance from traditionalist factions proved to be a significant obstacle, leading to tensions that threatened his rule. As Gentius navigated the complex landscape of power dynamics, he realized that the survival of Illyria depended on not just military strength but also cultural cohesion. He promoted Illyrian traditions and cultural heritage, emphasizing the importance of a shared identity among the tribes. Gentius aimed to instill a sense of pride and unity in his people, fostering loyalty to the crown amidst growing external threats. His reign was characterized by a mix of ambition, diplomacy, and the struggle for internal stability, a delicate balancing act that would ultimately define his legacy. As Gentius sought to strengthen Illyria, the Roman Republic intensified its efforts to expand its territories in the region. The Roman conquest of the Mediterranean was relentless, and Gentius's kingdom found itself at the forefront of Roman ambitions. Roman legions were advancing into the Balkans, and Gentius recognized that the survival of Illyria depended on his ability to navigate the complex political landscape. The threat posed by Rome was both immediate and existential, compelling Gentius to act swiftly and decisively. In 168 BCE, Rome's victory over Macedonia in the Battle of Pydna marked a significant turning point in the region's political landscape. With Macedonia in disarray, Gentius saw an opportunity to assert Illyrian independence and strengthen his position. However, this was a double-edged sword. While it opened the door for potential alliances, it also heightened Roman scrutiny of his activities. Gentius's diplomatic maneuvers, including attempts to court Macedonian allies, drew the ire of the Roman Senate, which perceived him as a potential threat to their interests. Gentius's strategic positioning was not without consequences. The Roman general Lucius Anicius Gallus viewed Gentius's actions as a direct challenge to Roman authority and initiated a campaign to subdue the Illyrian king. Gentius, aware of the impending Roman response, sought to consolidate his forces and prepare for the impending conflict. He understood that engaging the formidable Roman legions would require more than mere bravado. He needed a well-planned military strategy that capitalized on the terrain and the loyalty of his tribes. As tensions escalated, Gentius faced not only external threats but also dissent from within his own ranks. Tribal leaders questioned his alliances with Macedonia, fearing that such ties would further provoke Rome. The internal divisions became more pronounced as Gentius attempted to rally support for the impending conflict. Despite these challenges, Gentius remained resolute, believing that the defense of Illyria was paramount. The clash between his aspirations for a strong Illyrian kingdom and the encroaching might of Rome would define the fate of his reign and the legacy of Illyria itself. The confrontation between Gentius and the Roman Republic escalated into what would be known as the Illyrian-Roman War. In 168 BCE, Gentius prepared for war as Roman legions crossed the border, intent on bringing Illyria under direct Roman control. Gentius mobilized his forces, hoping to unite the Illyrian tribes against the common enemy. He called for a council of tribal leaders, urging them to set aside their differences and fight for their homeland. The urgency of the situation was palpable, as the specter of Roman conquest loomed large. The Illyrian forces, comprising various tribes under Gentius's banner, confronted the Roman legions near the town of Scadra. Gentius's army included infantry, cavalry, and even local militia, all fueled by a fierce determination to defend their land. However, the Roman legions, seasoned from numerous campaigns and equipped with superior tactics, presented a formidable challenge. The battlefield became a theater of brutal combat, where the fate of Illyria hung in the balance. The initial encounters were fierce, with both sides suffering significant casualties. Gentius employed guerrilla tactics, leveraging his knowledge of the terrain to outmaneuver the Romans. He launched surprise attacks, ambushed supply lines, and used the element of surprise to his advantage. Yet the Roman military machine proved resilient, adapting to Illyrian tactics and countering them with their own strategic maneuvers. The clash of cultures on the battlefield underscored the existential struggle for dominance between the Illyrians and the Romans. Despite Gentius's efforts, the tide of the war began to turn against him. As the conflict dragged on, the Roman legions adapted to the challenges posed by the Illyrians, employing increasingly brutal tactics to quash the rebellion. The Roman general, Lucius Anicius Gallus, was relentless, determined to subdue Gentius and demonstrate Roman strength. Gentius faced not only the might of the Roman army, but also the challenge of keeping his forces united and morale high amidst the hardships of war. The Illyrian-Roman War had become a struggle for survival, with both sides unwilling to yield. As the Illyrian-Roman War continued, one of the most critical moments came with the siege of Scadra, the capital of Illyria. Gentius understood that the defense of Scadra was vital to preserving Illyrian independence and rallying support among the tribes. The city, strategically located and well fortified, became the focal point of the conflict, with both sides recognizing its significance. The siege would not only determine the fate of Scadra, but also the future of the Illyrian kingdom itself. The Roman forces surrounded Scadra, cutting off supplies and reinforcements. Tiberius, now leading the siege, understood the psychological impact that capturing Scadra would have on the Illyrian people. As the siege dragged on, Gentius's forces faced increasing pressure. Starvation and dwindling resources began to take their toll on the defenders, creating an atmosphere of despair within the walls of the city. Gentius, determined to inspire his troops, delivered impassioned speeches, reminding them of their heritage and the importance of their struggle. Despite the odds, Gentius devised a daring plan to break the siege. He organized a series of nighttime raids, attempting to disrupt the Roman supply lines and create confusion among the besieging forces. These efforts provided brief moments of relief, but the resilience of the Roman legions proved overwhelming. As the weeks turned into months, the Illyrian defenders grew weary, and their resolve began to wane. The Romans tightened their grip, and the situation within Scadra became increasingly dire. Ultimately, the fall of Scadra was a devastating blow to Gentius and the Illyrian cause. After a prolonged and grueling siege, the Romans breached the city's defenses, leading to fierce fighting in the streets. The capture of Scadra sent shockwaves throughout Illyria, signaling the strength of Roman military might. Gentius, witnessing the downfall of his capital, realized that the struggle for Illyrian independence was becoming increasingly difficult. The loss of Scadra would mark a turning point in the war, and Gentius faced the grim reality of an uncertain future for his people. After the fall of Scadra, the Roman forces intensified their pursuit of King Gentius, determined to capture the last Illyrian monarch and quell the rebellion once and for all. Gentius, now in a state of desperation, sought refuge in the mountainous regions, hoping to evade the relentless Roman legions. The remnants of his army were scattered, and loyalty among the tribes began to waver as the realization of defeat set in. Gentius was acutely aware that without a united front, the dream of Illyrian independence would soon vanish. The Romans, relentless in their pursuit, dispatched cavalry and scouts to track Gentius down. Utilizing intelligence from local informants, they honed in on his location within the rugged terrain of the Illyrian mountains. Gentius attempted to rally his supporters, urging them to continue the fight for their homeland. However, the despair of recent defeats weighed heavily on the morale of his troops, and many warriors began to question the feasibility of their struggle. Gentius's leadership was now facing its most significant test, as he fought not only against the Romans but also to maintain the spirit of resistance among his people.
In a final act of defiance, Gentius decided to make a stand against the Roman forces, determined to show that he would not surrender without a fight. He and a small band of loyal warriors prepared to confront the approaching Roman legions in a last-ditch effort to protect their homeland. The battle that ensued was fierce, with Gentius displaying remarkable bravery and tenacity in the face of overwhelming odds. Yet the might of the Roman army proved insurmountable. Gentius fought valiantly, but as the battle raged on, he was ultimately captured by Roman forces. The capture of Gentius marked a somber moment in Illyrian history. The once mighty king, who had aspired to unify and empower his people, was now a prisoner of the Romans. His fall signaled not just the end of his reign, but also the decline of Illyrian independence. Gentius was paraded before the Roman Senate as a symbol of Roman triumph, yet his legacy as the last Illyrian monarch would endure as a poignant reminder of the struggle for sovereignty and the enduring spirit. In the aftermath of his capture, King Gentius was taken to Rome, where he was imprisoned and subjected to a public trial. The Roman Senate, eager to showcase their dominance over the Illyrians, used Gentius as a political pawn to send a message to other provinces that resistance to Rome would be met with swift and harsh consequences. Gentius's trial became a spectacle, drawing crowds eager to witness the fate of the last Illyrian monarch. The humiliation of being paraded as a defeated king weighed heavily on Gentius, who had once embodied the hope of his people. While in captivity, Gentius faced not only physical imprisonment, but also psychological torment. The loss of his kingdom and the suffering of his people plagued his thoughts. He grappled with the reality of defeat, reflecting on the choices he made during his reign. The ambition to unite the Illyrian tribes had faltered under the weight of Roman power. Yet, even in captivity, Gentius retained a sense of dignity and resilience, refusing to succumb to despair. He understood that his legacy would not be defined solely by his capture, but also by the ideals for which. During this time, Gentius forged connections with other prisoners and those who had suffered under Roman rule. He shared stories of Illyrian bravery and cultural heritage, emphasizing the importance of their identity. These conversations fostered a sense of solidarity among the captives, reminding them of their shared struggles against a common oppressor. Gentius's spirit of resistance endured, inspiring others to maintain hope and resilience, even in the face of overwhelming adversity. As months turned into years, Gentius remained a symbol of Illyrian pride. His legacy transcended the walls of his prison, igniting a flicker of resistance in the hearts of those who longed for freedom. Gentius's story would be told through generations, serving as a reminder that even in defeat, the spirit of a people can endure. The ideals for which he fought would continue to resonate, and the dream of a united Illyria, while momentarily extinguished, would never be forgotten. Despite his imprisonment and eventual execution, King Gentius's legacy continued to inspire resistance among the Illyrian people. His story became a symbol of the struggle for autonomy and the fight against imperialism. The memory of his reign was kept alive through oral traditions, songs, and tales passed down from generation to generation. Gentius became a cultural icon, representing the indomitable spirit of a people determined to resist oppression and fight for their identity. In the years following Gentius's execution, the memory of his efforts to unite the Illyrian tribes gained new significance. Many would point to Gentius as a reminder of the potential for unity among the diverse tribes of Illyria. While the Roman presence remained strong, there was a renewed interest in the ideals of independence and the importance of cultural identity. His life and struggles inspired a sense of pride among the Illyrians, fostering a collective yearning for autonomy, and Gentius's impact extended beyond the borders of Illyria. His story resonated with other cultures and nations facing similar struggles against oppressive regimes. As the Roman Empire continued its expansion, tales of Gentius became intertwined with the broader narrative of resistance against tyranny. He was celebrated not just as a king, but as a symbol of the fight for freedom that transcended borders and time. The spirit of Gentius became emblematic of the enduring human quest for justice and dignity. In the grand tapestry of history, Gentius's legacy serves as a poignant reminder of the sacrifices made in the name of freedom. His reign may have ended in tragedy, but the ideals he championed lived on, inspiring generations to come. The Illyrian people, though faced with oppression, carried forth the flame of resistance ignited by Gentius. His story endures, reminding us all of the power of hope and the unyielding spirit of those who dare to dream of a better future. The legacy of King Gentius and the Illyrian resistance persisted long after his death, echoing through the ages as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. While the Romans sought to erase the memory of Gentius and his kingdom, they could not extinguish the desire for freedom that burned within the hearts of the Illyrians. Over the years, various uprisings and acts of defiance against Roman rule emerged, fueled by the stories of Gentius and the belief that autonomy was worth fighting for. In the centuries that followed, Illyria would experience a complex tapestry of foreign influences, cultural exchanges, and struggles for independence. The memory of Gentius became a rallying point for those who sought to reclaim their heritage and assert their identity against external pressures. The Illyrian spirit, though challenged, remained resilient, weaving a rich narrative of endurance, adaptation, and the pursuit of self-determination. Even as new rulers and empires rose and fell, the ideals championed by Gentius continued to resonate. The struggles of the Illyrians became intertwined with the broader fight for freedom and justice throughout the region. His story inspired subsequent generations to challenge oppression and strive for a world where they could define their own destinies. Gentius's legacy served as a guiding light for those who believed in the possibility of a brighter future. Ultimately, the tale of King Gentius stands as a reminder of the enduring power of hope, courage, and resistance. The Illyrian people, shaped by their history and heritage, carried forward the lessons learned from Gentius's life. His unwavering commitment to unity and freedom became a cornerstone of their identity, inspiring them to continue their fight for a legacy of independence that would resonate for generations to come.